Hi everyone, we are back to our workshop again. It's nice having everybody here. So I have here with me Bruno from Katana Network, and we are here to learn about how to build with Katana and how to make building fun again because I got the topic and I'm so excited to learn that. So yeah, I'm going to leave the mic for him now. Then we can always ask the question in the comments. Then I'll pick it up from there. Thank you so much. Hi, nice to have you here, Bruno. I don't know if I pronounced your name well. Pardon me for that. Thank you.
Good. I'm fine, thank you. Yeah, hi.
Yeah.
I'm a developer relations guy at Katana and Polygon, and today I will show you how to get started developing on Katana really quickly with the starter kit that we've put together for hackers and anybody who wants to get started just building the apps or contracts on it really quickly without much headaches. It's not going to be a long guide. I don't want to overwhelm you because there's a lot of information. But all of this is documented in the starter kit's README as well. So if anything from here sounds interesting, just go to the starter kit, which I'll give you the links and everything, and check it out in the README. And as usual, you can just reach out to me via issues on the GitHub or directly on Telegram or email or X or whatever you like. Just ask me and I'll be there to help you out. One group that I do encourage you to join is the Katana Devs Telegram. This is literally just Katana Devs all together, one word, lowercase. That's the official Telegram group for developers on Katana. So if you need help, jump in there and ask, and there's going to be a lot of people who can help you out. So let me just quickly dive in here and show you what all of this is about. 1 second, let me just clean up here my stack and make sure that nothing is running. All right, let's do this. So I'm going to share my screen, and you can follow along if you want to, but you don't have to because all of this is also in the README. Now, I did just update the starter kit, so there might be some bugs, and we'll see what happens. But I'm polishing it right now because we're also preparing for ETH Global, and we're making everything much more smooth. And the documentation is being updated and everything as well. The docs were actually just merged, so they should be already up to date. But if not, just yeah, ping me in any of the chats, and I'll make sure that it's fixed if you find any bugs or anything that doesn't make sense. So this is, let me show you actually how this works. So the starter kit that I'm talking about is this one. So it's called Special K. It's the Special Katana Starter Kit, and it's at github.com/katana-network/special K. You can also find links to all of this on katana.tools. So if you just go to katana.tools, you will find all of the tools that we have at your disposal for Katana development listed here. And as the community develops more or we develop more, we'll be adding to this list proactively. So if you also develop some cool development tools, let me know. We'll add them here. So this starter kit is essentially a collection of utilities to make your life easier as a developer on Katana. And it's best if I just show you because there's a lot of stuff in here, but it's all designed to work together as one nice package. But you really have to use it, otherwise it looks too intimidating. So the first thing you do is you clone the repo of the starter kit, right? So let's clone it. And now we'll just cd into it. Now I'm using for the runtime, for the the execution runtime, I'm using Bun instead of Node.js. And Bun is better in every single way. So Bun is faster, it's more stable, it will produce fewer errors, it will produce much smaller footprint of downloaded material, so it will download less things. It just works overall better, and you don't have to do any version juggling like on Node.js. So I do truly recommend that you use Bun. Bun is easy to install, just use it. Now that we are in the folder, we'll just run the install command so that Bun can install the dependencies of the project. So now it installed some dependencies, that's fine. And the last thing to prepare we have to copy our env file. So the env file contains the RPC endpoints for our blockchains that we'll be using. So Katana has 3 blockchains. Katana mainnet, that's the main one you want to use. And it has Tatara and Bokuto. Those are 2 testnets. Tatara is getting decommissioned in a few weeks, but it still has the most contracts, so it makes sense to develop on it. Bokuto is getting these deployments, but it's not ready yet, so I don't recommend using it actually. I would actually recommend using the Katana mainnet, and here's why. The starter kit will allow you to clone your Katana mainnet locally. So you will be running the blockchain on your own machine in 1 minute, and it's a simulated copy of the real thing. So it will copy the exact real state of Katana into your local memory, and it will be running a copy of Katana on your machine, and it will also give you some accounts that have 10,000 ETH in them for testing. So you can actually use the real Katana on your own computer without being connected to the internet, and use those rich accounts for any kind of testing you want. And you can do it without needing some API key for some RPC provider and so on. So this is really cool. So let's see what is in the env file. So you can see here it's Tatara RPC URL, Katana RPC URL, and Bokuto RPC URL. You only need those that, I mean, you can use these defaults, they're public RPCs, it's fine. So you don't need to do anything other than just copy. So let's copy an example into env. We now have the env file. And now we have the dependencies installed and we have the env file. So now what we have to do is just compile the scaffolding of our starter kit. So this means that it will go through the starter kit. It will compile the example app that is included with the starter kit. It will compile some utilities for managing contracts that are deployed on Katana so that your life is easier when developing, and some other helper methods. And so you do this by going to bun run build all. So you build all. In the future, after, you only have to run this once. Later on, when you're working on your application, you will only run build. That's it. It will be much faster. But right now, for the first go, we have to just run build all. And so now it's building all of this that it needs to build. It's doing the, it's building these address utilities. It's collecting the addresses that it finds in the contracts that exist. It is putting them into ABI files so you can easily write user interfaces for these contracts. So it's preparing everything for you so that development is as easy as possible. So that, for example, if you want to build a decentralized exchange and you want to implement Sushi, you don't have to go to the documentation of Sushi and then look, what address are they deployed on? I need this address, that address. No, everything is already here. So you can just use it from this starter kit. So now it's building these ABIs, and now it's done. And so now it wrote everything that it needs to write into these files. You don't have to bother with this at all. And so now if I want to rebuild just my app, I can just do bun run build. And so this, you can see this is really, really quick. It just rebuilt the app. So what happens when I rebuild the app? There are 2 folders to pay attention to here. One is source, and this is the source of our application. And actually, this application is deliberately extremely simple. It has 1 index file for HTML, 1 TypeScript file for the JavaScript logic, and 1 style file. This is on purpose. I made it simple without frameworks, without things that make your life harder, no React nonsense, none of that, because by keeping the app small, it is very easy to work on, fork, and upgrade, and do tutorials and examples on. But also, it makes the supply chain attack unlikely. Because if you have very few dependencies, then nobody can steal one of those dependencies and inject malware into it and hack your application, right? So the fewer dependencies you have, the more secure your application is. And so this demo application is designed specifically to be as simple as possible. Now, if you like React, if you like different frameworks, you can just pull that in and build this on top of this demo app. Doesn't matter, that's okay. But I wanted the foundation to be as simple as possible, and this is why this is so very, very simple. So when I run bun run build, the produced artifacts are actually in the dist folder. And the dist folder is distribution. And this is the same thing, just the TypeScript has been compiled into JavaScript, and otherwise style and HTML, they're exactly the same. And so you can already host this application. It's already done. You can just start it up. So let's see how that works. To run the application, you can do bun run dev, or this is a shortcut command for cd dist. We go into the dist folder, and then we run npx http server. So if you run HTTP server in any folder, it will just serve that folder as a website. That's it. It will serve it on your computer as a website so you can test it locally. Nothing to install, nothing to configure, just run it and it works. So I run this, and now my server is running. So now I can go to localhost 8080, and let's see what this looks like. There we go. The Katana demo app is running in my browser. But you'll notice that I'll get an error now. There you go. Connection error, fork not running. This is because the application has no blockchain to connect to. It doesn't know what it's connecting to. We didn't tell it what to connect to. It, by default, it assumes that a blockchain is running locally. But we didn't actually run any blockchain. So let's do that now. In a new tab, I'm just going to run it. So we are still in the dist folder. Let's go out. You can see here we're in our demo folder. So now, how do we run this local clone of Katana? And so I'll explain what happens here now. You do bun run, and then you go start Anvil, and then the name of the blockchain. It can be Tatara, it can be Bokudo, or it can be Katana. And so if I push this, now what the script did is it went online with the public RPC. It fetched the Katana current state, what the blockchain is right now. It cloned that state to my computer. It created a bunch of accounts with 10,000 ETH each. And then it continued to build blocks on that state that it just got from online. And from this point on, it's offline. It's working only on my machine, producing its own blocks. So now it's producing, now this is basically like a simulated chain on my machine that has the exact same setup as the real Katana, which means that you can basically use infinite money to experiment on the real Katana on your own machine. And so if you now open the demo site, you can see it immediately connected to Katana, and it can read the total supply of AUSD. This is the real actual supply of the AUSD token on the live blockchain, but it's being read from my blockchain copy that is running on my machine. And so this is how you connect your app to the blockchain that's running locally. So what does the app look like? Well, it looks something like this. Let me just show you in a new window. And this is going to be here. So if you go into source, you can find here all of the information about how to build this application. So it's just a simple main TS file, and it just reads these components from the chain. So you can see here what it reads, what it imports. It imports the ABIs. It imports so this application specifically is designed to automatically detect which chain it's connected to, and then it will give it the name, and then it will read the appropriate contracts from that chain just as a demo. But you can now work on it. You can hack around it. And if you go to the official docs, I think it compiled. Let me see. Here. Yes, it did. So now you can, if you go to the docs.katana.network and you go to read token balances and wrap ETH into ETH, this is a tutorial that shows you how to upgrade this application and add token wrapping functionality to it. So then you can add functions that wrap tokens, that wrap ETH into wrapped ETH, and you can experiment by adding new components. So this is your starting point on how to develop applications on Katana. It's very easy. Add a few things in, and it just works. So this is your starting setup, right? So you launch the starter kit, you compile some things, you test out the application, and everything works. And you run the local chain, and now you can play around on it. So what else can we do? Well, there are some other cool features as well here. So now let me just show you real quick what else got built. So the ABIs folder has all the ABIs of all the contracts we have. What are ABIs? ABIs are application binary interface files. And this is a very kind of complicated way of saying descriptions of which functions are callable on these contracts. So when you're building a user interface for a smart contract, you need an ABI to know which functions exist on the smart contract. And so this is all you have here. So if you want to build a UI for a new advanced UI for Morpho or for Sushi or for a DEX or something, you can directly integrate with this because this already has a list of what you need. But not only that, you can actually tell your LLM, if you're using Cursor like I am, you can tell it, I want to build a new DEX. And then you tell it with which tokens. and with which contracts, or even don't tell it. Ask the LLM to suggest it, and it will go through the entire context of the project, and it will be able to suggest and build with you. And while we're talking about AI, you have, actually in the contracts folder, you also have this utilities. So these files are automatically generated when you run build all. And here, these are shortcut files that contain all the addresses of all the contracts by name for that respective chain. So if I'm looking for the AUSD USD Oracle, on Katana, this is going to be on this address. But on Tatara, it's going to be on another address. And on Bakuto, it's going to be on another address. But I can just call this one function, and depending on which chain I'm connected to, I'm going to get the correct address. So this helps you develop locally and live with the same code without having to change code, because the address will automatically switch depending on which chain you're connected to. Now, for AI-based functionality, this is something that's really cool and that I really like, and maybe we can test something here. So the MCP, if you're not familiar, MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. And actually, this is documented here as well in the official documentation. Use MCP to talk to the blockchain. So MCP stands for Model Context Protocol, allows LLMs to talk to external tools to enhance their context and change the surrounding by executing API calls. In other words, it lets your LLM tool talk to your environment, including the locally running blockchain that we have running right now. And this is really powerful, because by having a good MCP server, like we do have here, you can actually have the LLM automatically search your blockchain, deploy to your blockchain, experiment with your blockchain, even destroy it and boot it back up from scratch and retry something that it's trying without you being there. So you can actually, if you're building a contract or something, you can just tell it, build this and deploy it, and then go to bed. And when you wake up, you will either wake up to a bug report or a final product, both of which are really cool. So let's see if that's going to work. But first, we need to activate the MCP server here, I think. Let me see, cursor settings. And let's see, models, tools and integrations, Foundry. There we go. Our MCP server is already activated. And so here we have this, actually not in Hadron. We are going to make it, we are going to put it into here. So we're going to put it here. So the README that you get when you compile with build all will contain all the instructions that you need to integrate the MCP server with Cursor. So I'll just change the URL here. Index.js, there we go. And now let's just see if that's going to work, right? So let's turn it on and off again, just in case. And let's see what happens. So here, what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and ask, find me the total supply of AUSD. And I'm not going to, maybe I'll start using MCP. So I'm not going to tell it anything else. I want to see how it does. I want to see whether or not it's going to figure out what it needs to do. I don't know how this is going to go. This is never deterministic. It's never the same output. So maybe it breaks, maybe it works, but the MCP functionality will be drastically improved in the next week. I'm actively working on it to make the MCP server work better and better. So it might need some more guidance, but it might also work from scratch. So let's see. And mind you, I'm using Claude 4 Sonnet Max here. You might be using a different model depending on what kind of subscription to Cursor you have and so on. But here you go. It made two to-dos. First, it needs to look up the AUSD contract address. Then it needs to call total supply function on AUSD's contract. So now it's looking for the AUSD address. Now it found two of them, one on Tatara and one on Katana. Okay, it found the contract address. I wonder what it's going to use, because I didn't say which chain, but it should default to calling it on the chain that's running by default. So let's see. Katana mainnet address. Let's see. Perfect. Okay, so it found out that it needs to check the Katana mainnet. It now casted this number that it got, the raw number, as decimal. It now is converting it into a readable format, because it found that it uses 6 decimal places. And you can see here, it did indeed find out that the total supply is 26 million and a half. And so this was one call, and with one call, it was able to interact with the blockchain, figure out what I wanted from it by just interpreting my query, and then going out and just doing everything on its own. And this is still, while it's imperfect, I didn't really teach it much, but it already works really well. So you have an LLM helper that is completely integrated with your development environment. It can help you execute code, execute test cases. It can write tests for you. It can write UI for you. It can write contracts for you. It can do whatever you want it to do. And it can interact with your blockchain directly, which is extremely powerful. No other blockchain environment has this. So this is the MCP functionality in this. And one more thing I want to show you, and then I'll see if there's any questions, is this terminal that I was using before. This is actually the Warp terminal. So it's called Warp. And it's a cool one as well. And on the free plan, you actually have quite a lot of power. So I have this. The coolest thing about this, apart from the fact that it can understand human queries. So like for example, I can just say find all processes that are running on HTTP ports. So now it's thinking what I want from it. This is a terminal, but it's interpreting my command, and it's now figuring this out, how it's going to get me what I need, right? So it's listing the processes, and it's going to come back to me with a list. Now it's trying to figure it out. It's probably going to be a lot of processes because I gave a really bad query, but it's following instructions. And so it does everything that Cursor did just a minute ago with AUSD. This one is doing it on your terminal level, on your system level. And so, okay, let's stop it now. I'm not really interested in this. What it's really cool, I find really cool about Warp is that it has these rules. And so I defined this cool rule that is start Katana project. And I explained here how a Katana project is started. So when I say in a new terminal, start a new Katana project in a folder called Kmart. And so now first it asks me if I want to proceed with the plan or without a plan. Usually you can do without a plan if there's nothing, if it's not a complex project. And so now it's going to do everything that it has to do. First, it'll clone. I told it to ask me for every command. This is why it's not auto-executing. First, it will clone. Then it will go into the folder. It will start the build process. You can see here it will run bun install, bun run build all, and everything we did just a minute ago, it will do automatically. So you will actually end up at the buildable state by default without actually having to execute more commands. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I want you to check out. So the main resources that I want you to check out are docs.katana.network and katana.tools. These two URLs will contain everything you need. Of course, there is the special K repo, which you can find on Katana Tools. You click here, you will go to the repo, and then the README will explain everything you need to know and stuff that you don't need to know. So it will be very verbose, but you saw now how this is used and that it's actually simpler than it looks. But I do encourage you to read this and see what's possible and so on. So yeah, that's it. I'll check if there's any questions. No questions. Please put them into the chat if there are any. Remember, there are no stupid questions. I know that this can be intimidating and confusing, but it's, you know, it's a complex environment, so it's okay to be intimidated and confused a little bit. No questions. Okay. Well, if you have any, when we are done, please hit me up in the Telegram or anywhere else, and I'll be happy to answer anything that.
Can you,
Well, if you have any, when we are done,
okay, so we'll
please
show
hit me
you.
up in the Telegram or anywhere else,
Okay,
and I'll be happy to answer anything.
okay, perfect. Okay, that's fine. Okay.
Well, if you have any, when we are done,
Okay, so
please hit me up in
so
the Telegram or
so
anywhere
here,
else.
so viewers, it's been a pleasure, and we'll be wrapping up this section right now. So here's a coin. Yeah, so we're wrapping up this section right now. Let's just get hands on. We've gotten like a deep dive into Katana, and let's try to like explore the opportunities behind. So we hope to have Bruno more on this. And if you have any problems, please share. I'll add Bruno on the builders group. So if you have any questions, we just get more. So this is like another open opportunities for you guys to like get in. So thanks Bruno for your time, and yeah, see you.
Thank you for having me. Happy building.
Peace.